Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to our panel on AI-powered product innovations. My name is Tommy Hayes. I'm a food and nutrition analyst from Lux Research. I'm joined today by Marika Otten, Head of Consumer Sensory Insights APAC for Givaudan, as well as Parth Patel, VP Marketing and Strategic Planning, AP from Kerry Group. And last but certainly not least, Enid Ng, Head of Innovation R&D APAC at Diageo. So thank you, panelists, for joining as well. I'm going to set up the stage today, similar to what Christine did in the last session, in terms of what is the problem we're trying to solve here. And I think it's the fact that around 80 to 85% of FMCG products fail post launch. And so how do we, change that statistics for the better? And certainly, I think that calls for a more data-driven approach to new product development, and AI certainly has a role to play in that. So to kick things off, I would love to hear from all of you. How are each of your organizations embracing AI in new product development? So maybe Parth, maybe we can start with you. Sam had mentioned Kerry TrendSpotter, so I'm sure you'd love to talk about that.
Thanks, Thomas. I hope you can hear me okay. Good morning, everybody. So look, I loved what Mark said, right? In the previous session, he spoke about the fact that as things have changed, as consumers interact and they share feedback pretty much in real time, it's important that we move beyond the traditional forms of understanding consumer insights, right? So what we are doing in Kerry, we have a proprietary tool, TrendSpotter, which essentially we understand what's going on in the social media landscape, and the trick there is to basically shut out the noise from the real insights, right? And that's why you have technology helping us there. And look, this is all about making sure that you are able to understand in real time what's going on out there. You're able to make sense of all the information, and then you're able to synthesize it in a way which makes sense for the customers that we work with. Right? And all of this, AI is an enabling tool. It's not the silver bullet. There is no silver bullet. As Peter said at the start, humans need to ask the right question, and that's the same thing with any technology or tool that we use. I'm sure Maria K. or Enid would subscribe to that. Tools help us, technology helps us. At the end of the day, you're going to make sure you ask the right questions, you have the right scope in mind, and essentially you are looking at the right spot to understand those insights. So yes, the things have changed, and look, it's all about getting better as we move on in terms of understanding how this can enable us to get a better understanding of consumer insights in real time.
Fantastic. Marika, how about you? How is Givaudan, embracing AI in new product development?
Similar to Parth, we also have a proprietary foresight engine to predict ingredient trends, which is working very well for us. I think I see AI almost like like a disruptive innovator, like the iPhone introduction, like the computer introduction. You had some early adopters, and then suddenly it just takes this disruptive peak into the air. And this is how I see the future of AI, definitely in product development. And apart from predicting ingredient trends, we have been leveraging AI for many years to guide flavor creation, to recommend ingredients. We have a flavor kiosk that we can put in public spaces that can crowdsource consumer preferences. And that also allows us to co-create with consumers as well as customers. And it's only going to be used more. If you want to grow your customer base, I think AI is inevitable. We will be using it a lot more in the future. I think in the future, we will be using it more to predict even, what, how, and when consumers eat and drink. So it's playing a big role for us.
It's a good example of what we've been hearing throughout, but especially in the talk from Hershey about augmentative intelligence, combining human and artificial intelligence together. Enid, how about you? How is Diageo, taking on AI and new product development?
Well, I would say that we are still quite new on the journey, but we do have a predictive tool that we use to help consumers to navigate the complex world of whiskey. So I think a lot of consumers gave us the feedback that sometimes whiskey is quite difficult to navigate as a category. There are distilleries, there are ages, there are triple distilling, double distilling, and all these different things. So for them, it's quite difficult to understand and how to choose the right whiskey for them. So we therefore have developed a predictive tool called What's Your Whiskey to help consumers using big data to analyze what they like and what they don't like. And that has been a very, very successful initially for us, very, very encouraging signs, but I think there are definitely a lot more to come.
So is that a consumer-facing tool or is that an internal-facing tool to Diageo?
That one is a consumer-facing tool.
It
so
is
we have versions of on-trade, so at the bar, and also off-trade as well, on digital channels, and actually in sites in stores in parts of the world.
Oh, fantastic. We touched on a little bit of elements of this, but I'd like to unpack a little bit more. What has been the business impact of some of these tools that you're starting to embrace within your organization? Has it helped you increase your speed to market? Has it helped increase the success of the product once it reaches the marketplace? Your R&D spend, anything around that. So maybe Parth, we'll start with you again.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. Look, I'll share an example. About 16 months back, I was with a customer in Southeast Asia. They are the number one or the number two snacks manufacturer in different categories across the region, right? And I was talking to their team, about 15, 20 people in the room. And when we spoke about the data piece that Peter and Mark kind of spoke about, that 80% of the new product launches fail in the first 12 to 18 months. And I was presenting that. And my entire presentation was basically hinged on that fact, right? And this guy basically stopped me and said, "Wait, are you sure it's 80%?" I said, "Yeah, look, my heart skipped a few beats." I said, "Yeah, it is 80%. That's what Nielsen says." And he said, "Look, you know what? This number is not right." And I thought, "Look, the meeting is over. We're going to go back home now." And he said, "Look, in my company, it's 95%. He said 90 to 95% of products are actually failing within 12 to 18 months of launch. So anything you can do, bring certainty there, is going to help us a lot." So to answer your question specifically now, Thomas, look, in our organization, what we do when we work with customers, because we have access to real-time consumer insights, you are actually able to crash the innovation time down. So in this specific case that I can share with you, typically we would do traditional market research, consumer research, focus group, sensory. That would take 3 to 6 months, multiple iterations. In this case, we crashed the whole process down to less than 2 weeks. And we were actually able to, in real time, interact with the customer. And basically, within 3 weeks from ideation, we were able to lock down on a specific insight, and the customer was able to launch that product within 4 months. Typically, something that would take 6 to 9 months was done between 3 to 4 months. So, crashing down innovation time, bringing more certainty into the conversation, bringing more objective data into the conversation. I think all of this helps a lot when you are interacting with, especially within a B2B environment, and more so in a B2C where millions of dollars are at stake, right? So anything you bring around which crashes innovation time, brings objective conversations, actually helps, and that's what happened in this case. Thomas, can you still hear me?
Okay, now I think I'm back. I can hear you, but everything froze on me. I apologize. Hello?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay. The video seems to have frozen. Keep going on, Parth, unless you were done.
I'm done.
Okay. All right. Sorry, I can't. Everything seems to be a little bit wonky. I apologize for that. All right. Well, let's move on to maybe we go to Edith. Maybe you can talk a little bit about some of the business impact that you've seen from the whiskey tool that you mentioned.
Yeah, I think for that, it's not so much about new product development. It's more about our existing whiskey portfolio. But in my experience, in terms of using AI and big data, I don't think I have too much more to add to Pat. The points that he raised in terms of shortcutting some of the development time, giving more confidence to the business, and also just generally a higher success rate, I think is what we are seeing as well.
And Marika, how about you? With the, you talked about the flavor booth. What is kind of the impact that's brought on to Givaudan?
Yeah, very similar as to the previous two speakers. It's definitely helping to speed up some product development processes and the flavor creation process. But I think the impact is also in how people work. It requires a different mindset. If you take a big data approach, it takes time to explain how that concept works with internal people, but also with our customers. But I guess that we will come to that in your next session, in your next question, perhaps. But so the impact is definitely, in terms of speed, yes, it's there. In terms of how people work, it also has a big impact. So what we have been doing with our ingredient trends prediction engine is we have the so-called builders, so the people that build the capability together with our supplier, and we have the people that use it. And those two groups of people are quite different, and it's important to understand that difference as well. That the builders, take a lot of co-creation time and development time and understanding that, big data, working together with the supplier to adapt to our ways of working and the way we understand the business. It requires, industry knowledge and market knowledge. And so it's really about a tool like that, like a proprietary tool like that, takes a lot of co-creation time and understanding each other's business. I think once you're there, once people understand how to work with it, and once they understand the concept, then the adoption will, steeply go up. Like the analogy I was making before with, the introduction of an iPhone or computer. It takes a little bit of time in the early adoption stage, and then once it's there, it has a massive impact.
Got it. Yeah. So you alluded to where I wanted the conversation to go next. It's great to hear, the impact, the positive impact that these tools have brought on. But of course, there's growing pains. So, what are, the challenges that your organization has experienced as you try to adopt these emerging tools and approaches, whether that's from, just an organizational standpoint or, in terms of actual data and collecting that and analyzing it. Anything further? I know you touched on it, Marika, but anything further you'd like to add there?
Yeah, I think it's a change of mindset. I think some people may be very unknown in this space, unfamiliar. So it's kind of like it's creating excitement, but it's also creating discomfort. So, how do you kind of like, how do you take that discomfort away? That is a key challenge. And I think we were able to do that, but it takes time. And it's big data is different than what Bart was saying in the beginning. To do like a focus group or online surveys is very focused and targeted, right? A big data approach is the flip side. It's completely different. It gives you a lot more data, but it also gives you a lot more unknowns, let's say. And also like how do you know what you don't know? That is also an important topic. Yeah.
Sure. So you might get some answers, but it might come with more questions as well. We've got a question from the audience, so I'm gonna slightly reframe what I just asked, which is, what are the most notable limitations you have seen with AI tools to use in real use cases? Maybe Parth, you could chime in on that one in terms of, what are the restrictions?
Good question. Look, I'll try and answer this question with the previous one to Thomas, because I think the two are quite interlinked. Look, I think, and I say this often, the only human being who likes change is a baby who's crying for a change in her nappies, right? Nobody else likes it. We all love it to say we want to change, but nobody else likes it. There's disruption and changes are like that. So, and this way of working is different, right? We're talking about different way of working, and it's not comfortable, and it's new, it's exciting, it's jargon, and you got to make sure you simplify it, right? So, in my experience, selling this tool internally has been a much more uphill challenge than actually talking to a customer and convincing them. So that's to basically answer that question. But if I reflect on the tool, right, or if I reflect on the journey that we had so far, uh, the two biggest challenges, number one is of course internal selling, but the other one is, how do you bring credibility to the market, right? Because AI as a technology is not new. It's been there for 2 or 3 decades, right? But the application in food and beverage is very new, and the jury is still out there to the effectiveness of this technology in our industry, right? So you got to have small wins. You got to have small wins that give you credibility both in the organization and with customers to drive this change. And I think that's been a big challenge. And that's what we look for. We're not looking for big wins. We're looking for small increments. Hey, look, can I improve something by 20%, 30%? Can I improve this way of working in a slight manner? So in our experience, when we started the journey, we thought we were going to change the world, right? But look, in the end, we realized even if we change our own house and we clean it, I think that's a step forward. So I always say this, right? Even if you fall, make sure you fall forward, because at least you're still, 2 inches ahead of where you were. And that's how I would frame our journey so far. It's been 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but look, we're inching on.
There we go. Fantastic. And Edith, maybe let's round things out with you. Kind of what have been some of the obstacles that Diageo has seen, and especially as you look to continue along your journey, maybe some of the obstacles you anticipate, and how you may plan to overcome those.
Yeah, I'm going to share a more Asia-specific challenge because at Diageo, we have seen quite a few people pitching in to use AI to help us in product development, as you can probably imagine. But a lot of times, something that is fairly basic, yet is quite a big challenge that I have seen, is that actually a lot of people or the algorithm are primarily based on English, and they are well established in US and Europe. But when it comes to Asia Pacific, then they become quite handicapped in that sense that they cannot understand the local languages that are very common in everywhere that you see in Asia Pacific. So that has actually been, I would have thought, quite a basic, but actually very, very important challenge that we see in a lot of these big data and applications.
Got it. That's why we have our friends at AI.
I echo that. Yeah, it's the same experience that we have. The local language knowledge is very, very important, and also some cultural understanding. In order to interpret the data in the right way, you need to have cultural understanding of a category, of a market, of a consumer. That's also very important.
And beyond just the literal text. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So it needs collaboration. You need to have inside your company people that know how to interpret the data. So you can call them data scientists or data analysts, and then you need those people at your supplier site as well.
Sure. And I was just going to say, beyond the literal text, but the sentiment of the text and the message that's being conveyed. Another question from the audience I'd like to introduce, any part of your consumer research that you have, completely 100% replaced with AI, big data techniques, or is it still, a combination of the human elements and the AI elements? Anyone like to grab that?
I can go. I think it's still a combo. We have not yet done a complete project on research that is completely AI driven. AI is definitely part of it, but not the totality. And I think that goes back to a point that Parth made a bit, is still kind of waiting for the jury to be out on the credibility of AI and the mindset piece as well.
Yeah, same. It's an enabler for us and not a replacer yet. I don't know if it's ever going to be a replacer, but it's a key enabler.
It's the same for us. It's a piece in the puzzle, a very important piece. It increasingly do I see that this piece getting more weightage in the overall process? Yes. Is it majority today? No. But clearly, the way the trends are going, the way we are seeing good traction, at least when we engage with customers and they engage with their consumers, we are seeing this space getting much more visibility as we move on. But yeah, again, look, it's a part of the puzzle.
Fantastic. So now, kind of really honing in on the organizational aspects. How do you build a structure to really fully adopt AI in your everyday processes? So, and I think Sam set the stage nicely around this yesterday during his keynote. Where you could build internal tools, or you can bring in external vendors. So do you see food and beverage companies hiring an army of data scientists, or do you see it rather just completely outsourcing and using external vendors to develop these tools?
Maybe I can go. Yeah, I think the beauty comes when you marry your internal and external data. If you just use external data, you're not going to be differentiating. So the differentiating factor comes when you marry those two. So I think you need to have your own army of data scientists and data visionaries. Perhaps you need to work with big data consultants if their job is going to exist more in the future. And also, I think you need to find a way to kind of, the current generation, the working generation is very knowledgeable, has a lot of industry knowledge and expertise. But how do you bring in the Gen Z and, the even younger people that have that more big data mindset, and how do you marry those two in your company? I think that's going to be a key question, for the future.
Parth, how do you see it?
Yeah, look, I would say similarly. Look, Mark spoke about the fact that you need to immerse into the consumer's home, right? In this case, what we're trying to do is we're trying to immerse ourselves into the consumer's brains, and that's even more difficult, right? So I don't think any single organization or single approach is going to help you. It has to be collaborative. At least from my organization point of view, I clearly see this being absolutely collaborative. We will be doing something like Transporter is there, absolutely. At the same point in time, we will be reaching out externally, getting help, because this technology is emerging on a pretty frequent basis. And if we think we know everything, within 3 months we will not know anything. So it's important we engage externally, we engage with the industry, we engage with partners, so that we are sharp and we remain on the edge of how you use this to drive efficiency and effectiveness in the organization. I would say yes, it's going to be a collaborative effort.
And Edith, how about you?
Yeah, I think same, collaborative. But I can see that as the journey moves on, if we start to apply AI more into the prototyping phase, I see that there might be a bigger need to do something proprietary in-house, because these are trade secrets, these are product recipes that we're dealing with, then I think that would be probably where I see a stepping up in terms of internal resources being drawn on things like that. But at the moment, I think very much collaborative. It's almost cost prohibitive and also capability prohibitive to do it all in-house, unless you have an army, a big army. Like the army has to be very big to do that.
If I may ask, what is kind of the sentiment in terms of being able to share, proprietary data with an external vendor that may also be working with one of your competitors? What's the sentiment around that? How do you kind of negotiate those types of situations?
Maybe I can give a quick. It's going to be a brief answer. So look, I think that's on a case-to-case basis. I think it will be defined as per the project that we are on. the way I see the collaboration happening, right? If that answers the question, Thomas. Look, we know we have some capabilities in house, right? We know that, and we're good at that. But we also understand that there could be a set of things emerging outside, like Enid spoke about local language capability, right? And that's a journey. How can we keep getting better at that? So clearly, I think for those kind of elements, those kind of blocks, we will be looking for help, specific help. That's one example. Another example could be if there's a specific project where we are looking at some in a particular country where we are not very strong, or it could be a particular category that we're not very strong, then you will be looking for help from people outside the organizations. A couple of examples that I can think of where we will be reaching out.
Marika or Edith, anything to weigh in there?
Yeah, I don't have like 100% answer how, what it's going to look like in the future, but I would think that if we're dealing with confidential internal data, that the algorithms will probably be developed more in-house. But it's like I said, it's how you combine the external data and the internal data, and how you then design together. How do you design the algorithms on the external data? That is also a proprietary thing, because like big data is out there, and a lot of companies are using similar big data, but it's how you design the algorithm. That's how you make a difference, and that is a collaboration, collaborative effort.
Sure. Okay. Edith, any last comments on that?
Yeah, I think it's very much quite similar. I guess it all depends on case by case basis, and also I think when it comes to data, probably a little bit trickier, unless it's external, like Marika said. But in terms of technology, I think there are probably quite a lot of opportunities for even competitors to collaborate together. So I think it's about bringing it forward as a whole, or for the whole food and beverage industry. I see opportunities there.
Yeah, I mean, you see that in the materials industry doing that, creating consortia to share data. All right. A lot of what we've been talking about, and Sam also laid this out nicely yesterday in terms of looking at the different steps of the new product development cycle, where a lot of the focus is, kind of that upstream conceptualization stage. Do you see any role of AI beyond that, in terms of the actual prototyping and then launching the products, getting feedback once they're in the market? Any insight into how you see things shaking up, further downstream? Maybe Enid, would you want to? Oh, Marika.
No, like I said in the beginning, we have been using AI for many years for flavor creation, to guide flavor creation, ingredients recommendation, formula optimization. So we've been using it like that for many years, and I think in terms of co-creation with customers and with consumers, it's going to play an even bigger role in the future.
I would say that prototyping would be somewhere that we are really interested in. I think we're quite a bit of a way yet in terms of understanding kind of how human perceive a product, and then how that drive liking and preferences, and ultimately the purchase behavior. So we'd love to get there. I think at the moment, I think we are still quite early stage, but yeah, definitely I can see a big role of AI doing more than just the upstream stuff.
Yeah. Look, I mean, similar thoughts in a way. Look, you can use AI technology on the front side, which is consumer insights, product development, supply chain, manufacturing, and the whole hog, right? And as an organization today, we are heavily focused on the commercial side of the business, right? How do you actually understand consumer insights in real time? But look, do I see an application for this technology outside of that? Definitely. Are we doing that today? We're taking baby steps. But look, going forward, this will be a big part of a journey. I think not only for us, but almost any organization out there that wants to be, efficient and more effective in terms of doing business with their customers or consumers.
Okay. It's interesting. We actually got a question in from the audience. Has big data research helped you in understanding the consumer sentiment towards a new product or variation better. And I think, Enid, that's what you were referring to. We're not quite there yet, but hopefully we'll be on the way to there. Final question I want to ask is, at what point in time do you think that more than 50% of new food and beverage products will be developed using AI in some way, shape, or form? I don't care if your answer is 2021 or 2050. I just want to hear, what do you think? When do you think that will happen?
That's a great
Taking
question.
a moment to think.
I don't know. I would love to know the answer to that if I have a crystal ball, but I'm guessing with the advance of technology like 5G and all the cloud enablers, which enable us to process data a lot faster, and the advance of the help of that to help the advance of the overall AI application, I'm guessing 5 years from a technology's perspective. Hopefully, I think it's very exciting times ahead of us. But I don't know whether I'm being overly optimistic or not. Love to hear what others think.
Yeah, I think similar. I think it's still, that's we are still in the early adoption phase, and then when is the disruption going to be? That's the big question. Maybe in 5 years.
Yeah, look, it's crystal balling into the future, right? Look, I think the fact of the matter is, the reality today is that we are still on the fringes of innovation, right? If you look at maybe the percentage of new product launches which have some sort of AI technology embedded is maybe less than 0.01% at this point in time. But look, of course, there's a lot of future. There's a lot of it's growing pretty rapidly as organizations get more aware. They realize that this can help them save time, effort, and money. This will definitely go up. Will it be 50%? Will it be 20%? I don't know. But what I can say is that progressively over the next 5 years, 10 years, this should double up very, very quickly.
Okay, so we'll reconnect in 5 years and see where we are. All right. Well, just to quickly summarize what we've learned today, I think in terms of what has been the impact we've seen so far, it's really being able to expedite the new product development cycle, especially that front end. Partha shared from 6 months down to it sounded like a matter of days. And then how do we really kind of create a robust ecosystem to adopt AI in our processes, and it sounds like it's going to take both of internal capability building, but as well as working with external partners. They're certainly not mutually exclusive. And yeah, so we'll check back in 5 years in 2025 to see how we're doing. Well, with that, I thank you all for your time today. Thanks for everyone for tuning in.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Have a good conference.
Thank you.